His right shoulder moved differently every time he inhaled. She quietly asked him, "Did something hit your side?" The man nodded. "A metal pipe. Did you lose consciousness?" For a few seconds, Emily immediately looked toward Dr. Adams. "I think he needs a CT scan." The doctor barely looked up. "I don't." Emily stayed respectful. "I believe there's internal bleeding." Dr. Adams sighed. "We'll observe him." Emily stepped back. She knew arguing would only waste time. Instead, she asked Maria to keep watching the patient. 15 minutes later, the man's blood pressure suddenly dropped. He collapsed. Doctors rushed him into surgery. The scan finally revealed serious internal injuries. The operation saved his life. Again, Emily had seen the danger before everyone else. This time, Dr. Adams quietly looked at her from across the hallway. Their eyes met. For the first time, he didn't see an ordinary nurse. He saw someone whose instincts were impossible to explain. Maria handed Emily an energy bar. "You forgot dinner." "I'm not hungry." "You never are." Emily smiled. "You sound like my mother." Maria laughed. "Someone has to." Emily finally accepted the snack. Just as she opened it, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She ignored it. Seconds later, it rang again. Emily frowned. She quietly walked into the staff restroom before answering. No one spoke. The call ended. Then, a text message appeared. "They found you." Emily's heart skipped a beat. Another message arrived immediately. "Don't trust anyone." She stared at the screen. Then, one final message appeared. "They're coming tonight." Emily slowly looked at her own reflection in the cracked mirror. 4 years. She had lived a quiet life. She believed her past had disappeared forever. She was wrong. Very wrong. Outside the restroom, life inside the emergency department continued normally. Patients waited. Doctors worked. Families prayed. Nobody realized danger was already moving toward the hospital. Emily quietly returned to work. Without saying a single word, she began checking every emergency room again. Every oxygen tank. Every medicine cabinet. Every emergency cart. Sarah noticed. "You already checked those." Emily answered softly. "I know. So why check again?" Emily looked toward the ambulance entrance. "Because tonight feels different." Sarah smiled nervously. "What do you mean?" Emily simply replied, "I hope I'm wrong." And outside, far beyond the rain, a distant sound slowly echoed through the night. Not thunder. Not traffic. Something much heavier. Something Emily recognized instantly. She closed her eyes for 1 second, because she had heard that sound before. Years ago, on the worst night of her life. And she knew. It was coming closer. The heavy sound grew louder with every passing second. Emily stood completely still near the emergency room window. Outside, rain continued pouring across the ambulance entrance. But she wasn't watching the rain anymore. She was listening. That deep rhythm. Those powerful rotating blades. She knew exactly what they belonged to. Military helicopters. Not civilian rescue aircraft. Not medical helicopters. Military. Sarah walked beside her carrying fresh patient files. "What are you looking at?" Emily slowly turned. "Nothing." But Sarah noticed something strange. Emily looked frightened. Not confused. Not surprised. Frightened. Maria also noticed. She quietly walked over. "Emily." Emily forced a small smile. "I'm okay." Maria wasn't convinced. Before she could ask another question, the hospital intercom suddenly came alive. "Attention emergency department. Mass casualty alert." Every conversation stopped instantly. Doctors looked toward the speakers. Nurses grabbed emergency carts. Paramedics prepared stretchers. Everyone moved at once. Nobody knew what had happened. Seconds later, the emergency radio exploded with static. "This is County Dispatch. Large industrial explosion reported on the east side of the city. Possible hundreds of casualties. Multiple ambulances responding. Prepare for mass casualty protocol." Silence filled the emergency room for only 1 heartbeat. Then, everything became movement. Doctors ran. Stretchers rolled. Phones rang continuously. Patients waiting for treatment were quickly moved into hallways. Maria immediately began assigning staff. Sarah, prepare trauma room 1. Jason, clear hallway beds. Everyone else, disaster protocol. Emily didn't wait for instructions. She was already moving. She opened the emergency disaster cabinet. Inside were colored triage tags, burn kits, airway supplies, emergency medication, and blood tubing. She began organizing everything at incredible speed. He frowned. We don't even know the situation yet. Emily finally looked at him. We will. A loud explosion echoed outside. Not close, but close enough to shake several hospital windows. Patients screamed. Visitors rushed toward the entrance. Security guards struggled to calm everyone. The emergency radio crackled again. First ambulances arriving in 2 minutes. Maria looked around. We don't have enough rooms. Emily answered immediately. We'll make more. She pointed toward an unused waiting area. Move chairs. Bring oxygen. Use folding beds. Maria nodded, without questioning her. Somehow, Emily already seemed to know exactly what needed to happen. The first ambulance arrived less than 90 seconds later. Its doors opened before it even stopped. Smoke covered the patient's clothes. His arms were badly burned. His face was covered in black ash. Paramedics shouted while running beside the stretcher. Male. 50 years old. Blast injury. Possible lung damage. Emily stepped beside the patient. What is his name? The paramedic blinked. Daniel. Emily leaned close. Daniel. You can hear me. The man barely opened his eyes. She gently touched his shoulder. Stay with me. Dr. Adams quickly approached. Trauma room 1. Emily shook her head. Trauma room 3. He frowned. Why? The ventilation system. What? Room 1 still has unstable airflow. He looked confused. We're dealing with burns. Emily nodded. Exactly. Maria immediately understood. Take him to room 3. Nobody argued. The stretcher disappeared inside. Before treatment even began. 3 more ambulances arrived. Then 5. Then 7. The emergency entrance became complete chaos. People covered in burns. Broken bones. Head injuries. Children crying. Parents screaming. Firefighters carrying unconscious workers. Emily stepped into the middle of everything. She didn't panic. She simply started organizing. If you can walk, follow the blue line. If you're short of breath, come with me. If you're bleeding heavily, stay here. Her calm voice somehow cut through all the noise. People listened, even strangers. Sarah watched in disbelief. Emily wasn't just treating patients. She was controlling chaos. One firefighter grabbed Emily's arm. My partner is still trapped. Emily looked directly into his eyes. What is your name? Brian. Brian. I promise we'll help him. But right now, I need you alive. The firefighter slowly nodded. He sat down exactly where she told him. Inside trauma room 3, Daniel suddenly stopped breathing properly. Dr. Adams prepared emergency medication. Emily looked closely at the patient's chest. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. She listened with her stethoscope. Only one lung sounded normal. She immediately spoke. He's losing air pressure. Dr. Adams looked again. Then again. His expression changed. Chest decompression kit. Emily already had it in her hands. The procedure started seconds later. Air escaped loudly. The patient's breathing immediately improved. One of the younger doctors stared at Emily. How did you know? She simply answered. I listened. The emergency department became louder every minute. Stretchers filled every hallway. Doctors ran from patient to patient. Volunteers brought blankets. Police officers carried injured civilians. No one had time to think. Only react. Suddenly, the emergency entrance opened again. But this time, everyone noticed something different. Soldiers, armed military personnel rushed inside carrying another injured man. Unlike everyone else, he wasn't wearing factory clothes. He wore torn military clothing. His body was covered with blood. One soldier shouted, Critical patient. Emily looked up. The moment she saw his face, everything around her disappeared. Her breathing stopped. Her hands froze. Because she recognized him. It had been years. Yet she knew him instantly. Michael Turner. One of the few people who survived the mission she had spent years trying to forget. He looked older, weaker, covered in blood. But it was him. The soldiers reached her. He kept asking for one person. Emily slowly stepped closer. The injured man forced his eyes open. He smiled weakly. Emily, you really are alive. Dr. Adams looked confused. You know him? Emily didn't answer. Michael grabbed her wrist. His hand was shaking badly. They know everything. Emily leaned closer. Don't talk. You've lost too much blood. He struggled to breathe. No. You need to listen. They're coming. They're already inside. Emily's eyes widened. What? Michael barely whispered. Someone is hunting us. Dr. Adams interrupted. Who is this man? Emily looked toward him. A patient. Nothing else matters right now. They rushed Michael into another trauma room. As Emily helped remove his damaged uniform, a small waterproof case slipped onto the floor. She immediately picked it up. Dr. Adams noticed. What's inside? Emily answered calmly. His personal belongings. But inside, she already knew. This wasn't personal. It was evidence. Something powerful enough to make people kill. Michael grabbed her hand again. His voice was barely audible. Don't trust the government. Emily leaned closer. Who sent you? He whispered one name. Ross. Before losing consciousness, Emily's heartbeat became faster. The same name she had heard earlier that evening. David Ross. This wasn't an accident. Someone had planned everything. Outside the trauma room, a man wearing a dark business suit calmly entered the emergency department. Unlike everyone else, he wasn't helping anyone. He wasn't worried. He simply observed. His expensive shoes were perfectly clean despite the storm outside. He quietly showed a government identification badge to the receptionist. Emily noticed him immediately. Something about him felt wrong. Very wrong. He slowly looked around the emergency room. Then, his eyes stopped on Emily. He smiled. Not kindly. Not warmly. Like someone who had finally found exactly what he had been searching for. Emily's heart sank. Because she realized the danger Michael warned her about had already arrived. Script. The mysterious man calmly walked toward the nurse's station. His face showed no fear. No concern. No emotion. Around him, patients cried in pain. Doctors shouted for supplies. Stretchers rolled through crowded hallways. Yet he behaved as if none of it mattered. Emily quietly stepped away from Michael's trauma room. Without making it obvious, she placed herself between the stranger and the injured soldier. The man smiled politely. Good evening. Emily answered with the same calm voice. Can I help you? He reached inside his coat and showed a government identification card. I'm Special Investigator Daniel Brooks. I'm here for a military patient. Emily glanced at the badge for less than a second. Then she looked directly into his eyes. What patient? The one your team just admitted. Emily remained perfectly calm. I'm sorry. I can't discuss patients. He smiled again. I already know he's here. Emily didn't move. And I still can't discuss patients. For the first time. His smile became slightly smaller. I have federal authorization. Emily answered quietly. And I have hospital policy. Around them, everything continued moving. Nobody realized a silent battle had already begun. Daniel leaned a little closer. You don't understand. Emily looked directly at him. I understand more than you think. Before he could answer, Maria walked over. Is there a problem? Daniel immediately changed his tone. No problem. Just official business. Maria looked toward Emily. Emily gave the smallest shake of her head. Maria understood. I'm sorry, sir. You'll have to wait. Daniel slowly stepped back. Very well. I'll wait. But Emily noticed something important. He wasn't looking at the trauma room. He was studying security cameras, emergency exits, hallways. He wasn't visiting. He was planning. Emily quietly entered Michael's room again. Dr. Adams was inserting another 4-line. Michael's blood pressure remained dangerously low. Emily checked his pupils, his breathing, his chest wound. Everything told the same story. He didn't have much time. Suddenly, Michael grabbed her wrist again. His eyes opened only halfway. The drive. Emily nodded. I have it. They'll kill everyone. To get it. Emily leaned closer. Who are they? Michael swallowed painfully. The people. Behind the explosion. Emily felt cold. The explosion wasn't an accident? Michael barely whispered. No. It was. A cover-up. His eyes closed again. Dr. Adams looked toward Emily. What is he talking about? Emily didn't answer. Instead, she quietly slipped the small waterproof case inside her scrub jacket. No one noticed. Except Daniel Brooks, standing outside the glass door, watching. Minutes later, the hospital lights flickered. Once, twice. Then, half of the emergency department suddenly went dark. Patients screamed. Backup generators activated. Red emergency lights filled the hallways. Machines restarted one by one. Maria frowned. That's strange. The hospital had emergency generators. Power failures rarely affected critical areas. Emily looked toward the ceiling. This wasn't random. Sarah looked confused. What do you mean? Emily pointed toward the security cameras. Every single camera had stopped moving. Frozen. Someone had taken control. At the same moment, the hospital intercom came alive. Attention! This is an emergency. Please evacuate the East Wing immediately. Visitors immediately panicked. Families rushed toward exits. Several patients tried leaving their beds. Doctors looked at one another. Maria grabbed the nearest phone. No answer. Emily raised her voice. Nobody moves. Her calm but powerful voice echoed through the hallway. People stopped. Even frightened families. Emily continued. That announcement is fake. Dr. Adams looked shocked. How do you know? Because there isn't any fire alarm. Everyone looked around. She was right. No fire alarms. No flashing evacuation lights. Only the announcement. Someone was trying to empty one part of the hospital. Daniel Brooks quietly disappeared. Emily immediately noticed. He moved. Maria looked around. Who? The investigator. Emily turned toward Sarah. Lock the pediatric hallway. Don't let strangers inside. Sarah nodded without asking questions. For the first time, she completely trusted Emily. Dr. Adams finally spoke. Emily, who are you? Emily looked at him. I'm a nurse. No, I mean before this. Emily stayed silent. There wasn't time. A loud crash echoed from the western hallway. Then another. Security guards shouted. Patients screamed. Emily immediately ran toward the sound. Dr. Adams followed. They reached the hallway just in time to see one hospital security officer lying unconscious on the floor. His radio had been destroyed. The emergency exit door slowly closed by itself. Someone had entered. Emily knelt beside the guard. He'll be okay. She took his radio. Only static. Then, a voice. Target located. Emily froze. She knew that kind of radio language. Military. Professional. Organized. Not criminals. Highly trained people. Dr. Adams stared at her. You've heard that before. Emily quietly answered. Yes. Years ago. On another terrible night. Suddenly, a maintenance worker came running toward them. The oxygen storage room. Someone's inside. Emily didn't hesitate. She ran. Dr. Adams chased after her. When they reached the oxygen corridor, the door was slightly open. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. Emily slowly entered. She looked around. Boxes. Medical supplies. Oxygen tanks. Nothing unusual. Until she noticed fresh muddy footprints. Someone had been there only moments earlier. She slowly followed them. The footprints ended near a storage cabinet. Emily carefully opened it. Nothing. But behind it, she found a hidden maintenance tunnel. Dr. Adams stared in disbelief. I've worked here 12 years. I never knew this existed. Emily quietly answered. Most people never look. Suddenly, footsteps echoed inside the tunnel. Emily held up one hand. Stay behind me. Dr. Adams whispered. Emily, how do you know what to do? She didn't answer. Instead, she picked up a loose metal pipe from the floor. The footsteps became louder. A dark figure appeared. Before the man could react, Emily threw the pipe against the opposite wall. The loud crash echoed through the tunnel. The stranger instinctively turned toward the sound. That 1 second was enough. Emily rushed forward. She grabbed his wrist, twisted it. A pistol fell onto the floor. The man tried punching her. She stepped aside, used his own movement against him. Seconds later, he lay unconscious on the ground. Dr. Adams couldn't believe what he had just seen. Where did you learn that? Emily calmly picked up the fallen radio. Long story. She switched it on. Another voice came through. Report. No answer. Again. Report immediately. Emily quietly turned the radio off. They know someone is missing. Dr. Adams looked frightened. Who are these people? Emily finally looked at him. The kind of people who never leave witnesses. Before either of them could speak again, another voice echoed from deeper inside the tunnel. Not through the radio. A real voice. Emily Carter. It took us years to find you. Emily slowly looked into the darkness. Daniel Brooks stepped forward. But now, he wasn't pretending anymore. No friendly smile. No government attitude. Only cold confidence. He slowly raised a pistol. I was beginning to think you disappeared forever. Emily answered calmly. I almost did. Daniel smiled. Your friend brought us straight to you. He glanced toward the emergency department. And now, I'll take what's mine. Emily stood perfectly still. You'll have to get through me first. Daniel laughed quietly. I was hoping you'd say that. The tunnel suddenly became completely silent. Neither of them moved. Neither of them blinked. Dr. Adams realized something terrifying. This wasn't the first time these two people had faced danger. Emily wasn't acting brave. She had lived through this before. And now, her past had finally caught up with her. Script. Daniel Brooks slowly pointed the pistol toward Emily. The tunnel became completely silent. Water dripped from old pipes. The emergency room sounded far away now. Only two people mattered inside that narrow passage. Emily. And the man who had spent years searching for her. Dr. Adams stood frozen behind her. He had never seen fear like this before. Not the fear of dying. The fear of recognizing someone who refused to give up. Daniel smiled. You should have stayed hidden. Emily answered calmly. I tried. You failed. No. I chose another life. Daniel laughed. A nurse? You gave up everything. To become a nurse? Emily looked directly into his eyes. I chose to save lives. You chose to destroy them. Daniel slowly shook his head. You always believed you could save everyone. Emily replied softly. I still do. Without warning. Daniel fired. Emily reacted instantly. She grabbed a metal emergency cart beside the wall and pushed it toward him. The bullet struck the cart instead. The loud noise echoed through the tunnel. Dr. Adams ducked. Daniel stepped backward. Emily rushed forward. He fired again. She slid behind a concrete support pillar. Another shot. Concrete dust filled the air. Daniel smiled. You've slowed down. Emily answered from behind the pillar. I'm just getting older. He moved carefully. So am I. He suddenly rushed toward her. Emily stepped aside at the last possible second. Daniel crashed into the pillar. She grabbed his gun hand. Both struggled for control. The pistol fell. It slid across the floor. Daniel punched Emily across the face. She stumbled backward. Blood appeared on her lip. Dr. Adams wanted to help, but he didn't know how. Emily recovered quickly. She kicked Daniel's knee. He lost his balance. She pushed him against the wall. But Daniel was stronger than he looked. He shoved Emily away. Both stood breathing heavily. Neither wanted to make another mistake. At that exact moment, the hospital lights suddenly failed again. Complete darkness. Only emergency red lights remained. Daniel smiled. "This is where it ends." Emily quietly answered, "No. This is where it changes." Suddenly, the emergency radio came alive. "Fire reported in surgical wing." Maria's voice followed immediately. "Emily, if you can hear me, the fire is spreading." Emily's face changed. Daniel noticed. He smiled. "You have a choice. You can stop me, or save your hospital." Emily looked toward the tunnel exit. She could already smell smoke. Daniel slowly picked up another hidden pistol from inside his jacket. "I knew you'd choose the hospital." He fired once, then disappeared deeper into the tunnel. Emily didn't chase him. She ran back toward the emergency department. Dr. Adams followed. Smoke had already filled part of the hallway. Patients coughed. Nurses covered children with wet blankets. Fire alarms finally activated. Real ones. Maria rushed toward Emily. "The oxygen storage room. If the fire reaches it." Emily didn't let her finish. She already knew. The entire hospital could explode. Emily immediately started giving orders. "Move everyone west. Keep children together. Disconnect unnecessary oxygen. Close every fire door." Nobody questioned her. Not anymore. Doctors, nurses, security guards. Everyone listened. Dr. Adams looked around in amazement. Only hours ago, most people ignored Emily. Now, the entire hospital trusted her. Sarah ran toward Emily. "The intensive care unit still has patients inside." Emily nodded. "I'm going." Dr. Adams grabbed her arm. "It's too dangerous." Emily looked at him. "They're still inside." Without another word, she disappeared into the smoke. The hallway was almost impossible to see. Heat filled the air. Ceiling panels slowly fell onto the floor. Emily stayed low, exactly as she had learned years before. She reached the intensive care unit. 3 patients remained. 1 elderly man, a teenage girl, a young mother connected to several machines. Emily quickly disconnected portable equipment. She pushed 2 wheelchairs together, then carefully rolled all 3 patients toward the exit. The smoke became thicker. She could barely breathe. Halfway down the hallway, part of the ceiling collapsed, blocking the main exit. Emily looked around, then remembered. The old maintenance tunnel. She smiled. Still useful. Carefully, she guided every patient through the hidden passage. Several minutes later, they safely reached the West Wing. Maria hugged Emily tightly. "You actually did it." Emily smiled weakly. "We're not finished." Outside, firefighters finally controlled the flames. The oxygen storage room had been saved. The hospital remained standing. Police officers began searching every floor. Daniel Brooks was gone. He had escaped. Michael slowly regained consciousness. Dr. Adams checked his condition. "You're going to make it." Michael smiled weakly. "I knew she wouldn't fail." Federal investigators finally arrived. This time, real investigators. They questioned everyone. Emily quietly handed over the waterproof case. Inside, there were encrypted files, videos, financial records, secret documents, evidence proving that powerful officials had planned the explosion to destroy years of hidden crimes. Within days, several high-ranking officials were arrested. News channels across the country reported the shocking story. The hospital became famous. People called it the night hundreds were saved. Reporters filled the entrance. Everyone wanted interviews. Everyone wanted photographs. But Emily quietly refused. She returned to work. Just like always. Weeks later, the emergency department finally became peaceful again. Sarah smiled while checking supplies. She laughed. "You've made all of us start checking everything twice." Emily smiled. "Good." Maria walked over holding fresh coffee. "I finally understand." Emily looked at her. "Understand what?" Maria smiled warmly. Why you always prepare before everyone else. Emily looked around the busy emergency room. Patients smiled. Children laughed again. Doctors respected every nurse. Even Dr. Adams had changed. He walked toward Emily carrying patient charts. He stopped. I owe you an apology. Emily looked surprised. I should have listened. Many times. You saved lives. I nearly cost them. Emily smiled gently. What matters is that you listened in the end. He nodded. I'll never make that mistake again. Months later, the hospital board held a special ceremony. Doctors, nurses, firefighters, police officers, everyone gathered together. The hospital director stepped onto the stage. He smiled. Tonight, we honor someone who reminded all of us that true heroes don't always wear uniforms. They wear hospital scrubs. Everyone stood. The room filled with applause. Emily quietly looked down. She never wanted recognition. She only wanted people to survive. Maria gently whispered, You deserve this. Emily softly answered, This belongs to everyone. She looked around the room, at every doctor, every nurse, every cleaner, every paramedic, every volunteer, because she knew something many people never understood. Hospitals are never saved by one hero. They're saved by people who refuse to stop helping each other. As the applause continued, Emily quietly smiled, not because people finally knew who she had been, but because they finally saw who she had become. Red heart before you leave. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends and family. Your support helps us continue creating powerful stories that inspire millions around the world. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.